Elementadayinmay.
Hey everyone, my name is Crystal Dilworth. Some of you might know me online as Crystal HD, and I am the guest host for today's Element a Day in May. I'm a science communicator, the co-founder of the Los Angeles Nerd Brigade, and an alumna of the California Institute of Technology, which is where we are right now. I'm here surrounded by a collection of beautiful crystals owned by the Geology and Planetary Sciences Division at Caltech to talk about element number 14, silicon. Silicon is relatively unreactive, but it's far from inert, and it is powerful. In fact, it is so awesome that I'm unable to cover every facet of its awesomeness just in one video. Silicon keeps us grounded, it defines space and time, and it influences how we interact with worlds both real and imagined. First isolated in the 1820s by Swedish chemist Jacob Berzelius, pure silicon is a shiny blue-gray metallic solid, but it rarely appears that way in nature. Silicon likes to surround itself with other molecules, frequently oxygen, and although similar to its periodic neighbor carbon, it's more labile than carbon, and it can happily accept additional electrons and form 5 or 6 bonds in complexes that create the beautiful crystals that I'm surrounded with here. Silicon keeps us grounded because it's basically the ground. It's present in a variety of compounds, but over 20% of the Earth's crust is silicon by mass, making it the second most abundant crusty element after oxygen and the 8th most abundant element in the universe. Silicon helps us define space because it forms the compounds that are important components of most of the building materials that we use to define the spaces that we live and work in. Brick, sand, concrete, and glass all owe their unique structure to silicon, as do the protective cell walls of most phytoplanktons and some sea sponges. But silicon also helps us define outer space. In 1999, NASA launched a space probe called Stardust, and its mission was to collect cosmic dust and bring it back to Earth. To do this, scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and here at Caltech created a silicon-based aerogel to act as a collector. Aerogel is so called because it's composed of such a light lattice of molecules that it's 90% air. The job of this aerosol was to trap space particles and keep them safe so they can be transported back to Earth. Those trapped particles of interstellar dust yielded an insight into how solar systems were formed, as well as the prevalence of organic signatures of life in outer space. Silicon in the form of quartz or silicon dioxide helps us define time because the atoms in quartz are arranged in a particular way. The solid crystal generates an electric field if the material is bent and the atoms are slightly displaced. It's also true that applying electricity to the crystal will cause it to bend, and those vibrations that occur in a pure quartz crystal in response to being bent out of shape causes the electric current to fluctuate, creating a steady, measurable electronic oscillation that can be used to count time or control the frequency of radio transmissions and receivers. Perhaps most importantly for today's digital age, without silicon's effectiveness as a semiconductor, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. Silicon quite literally controls how we interact with our world. It's the secret stuff in the computer chips that are driving the device you're probably using to watch this video, and without silicon there would be no computers, no internet, no cell phone cameras, and no life as we know it. Which I think is a pretty good thing, but Professor Frances Arnold here at Caltech would probably beg to differ. In 2016, she reported that her lab was able to create an enzyme that can incorporate silicon into hydrocarbons. Science fiction no more. We're now on our way to silicon-based life. Does that sound like a virtual reality? Well, think about it. Silicon is an integral part of everything, from breast implants to your virtual reality gaming system. So really, we carbon-based humans are using silicon to literally create the world we want to live in. What do you think? Have I managed to convince you of the awesomeness of silicon? I hope I have. So subscribe to Everyday Science, let us know what you think in the comments down below, and you can find me on Twitter at PolyCrystalHD, or you can follow a crazy band of super nerdy friends at the Los Angeles Nerd Brigade, both on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and keep coming back here for more Elements a Day in May.
Elementadayinmay.